Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Swami Jyotirmayananda Society, our journey to self realization. Please subscribe for the mystical meanings and to enjoy daily satsang. We are currently exploring the book Advice to Students, authored by Swami Jyotirmayananda Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. We are on the chapter of Brahmacharya or sexual restraint. What often appears wonderful in a superficial relationship is not really so. There is a humorous story that will point this out in more detail. Once upon a time, a prince was passing through a village on his horse when he suddenly saw a young girl. She was so beautiful that he immediately fell in love with her. He got right off his horse and went over to her and said, "I'm a prince and I'm going to marry you." The girl, who was a farmer's daughter, was mature minded and she realized that she would not be happy with the prince. So she realized that the prince was going after her just because of her looks and his wild fancies. So she said to him, "Let me think about it." "There is no thinking about it," he said. "I am a prince, and what I command must be obeyed." And she replied, "All right, I will prepare. But come to me in 3 days." Overjoyed with his expectation, the prince left the village. Immediately, the wise girl took a strong potion and created such havoc within her body that she looked ghastly. So, when the prince returned and saw her, he said, "Where is that beautiful girl?" "Here I am," she replied. Because all he was interested in was her physical appearance, the prince became terribly disillusioned and with disgust jumped off his horse and took off, losing all interest. There is so much illusion involved when you try to find someone to marry. Therefore, it is greatly advisable that you make friends with your parents and learn from their judgment. In Western society, children know what they grow and what they want to be at a certain age, and legally they are free to make their own decisions. But that freedom means nothing. Real freedom comes when you can organize and handle your life with a clear mind. Just being legally free puts you in a strange and a confused world. So don't be deluded by the letter of the law when you reach the time when you are thinking of marriage. Learn to communicate with your parents. When you feel that you are mature enough to have a marriage partner and you have someone in mind, introduce that person to your parents, talk to your parents, and think about what they have to say. Reflect on the situation 100 times before you get into it. If you don't, terrible problems may develop. If you don't believe this, just study the statistics on marriage in the West. There are so many householders whose marital problems lead to great emptiness and eventually divorce. Whether you're married or not, being a sensuous person is not your goal. You have to control the senses. Householder's life or grihast ashram is really an extension of Brahmacharya ashram. In the disciplinary stage, Brahmacharya was confined only to your body, keeping your body pure. In the Grihasthi ashram stage, you begin to understand that Brahmacharya must include discipline of the mind also, not just the body. When you are married, you should maintain sexual fidelity to your husband or your wife. This requires discipline and depth of understanding. Through sexuality, you bring forth children and they help to educate them in all aspects of practical and spiritual life. These are important spiritual nourishing roots we need to give. This is a great responsibility. So, the sexual relationship is never meant just for fun. As householders mature, they rise beyond the sexual demands of the body and develop brahmacharya to a still higher level. By the time you have perfected your grihast responsibilities, then you are ready, according to the Hindu tradition, to retire and enter into Vanaprastha, a stage in which you eventually become an absolute brahmachari, physically, mentally, and intellectually. In the highest brahmacharya, your intellect flows constantly towards God. Brahmacharya literally means living and moving in Brahman. In its early stage, then, the practice of brahmacharya begins with the discipline of the sexual aspect of your personality. That sexual aspect can be the most dominating aspect in one's personality, and if it is not taken care of, then all of one's senses go astray. On the other hand, if you practice brahmacharya in the right sense, you develop what is referred to as ojas shakti, meaning spiritual energy. Ojas shakti gives you a personal magnetism, a magnetism that comes from your spiritual personality and endows you with special power and energy. It was that type of brahmacharya that was the secret of all great persons. It was the brahmacharya of Hanumanji that enabled him to cross the ocean. It was the brahmacharya of Swami Vivekananda that made him such a powerful personality that just a few of his words impressed thousands of people. It was the brahmacharya of Mahatma Gandhi that made him lead his country to freedom. It was the brahmacharya of Jesus that led him to heights of spiritual glory. So, brahmacharya gives you an amazing mental power because you're not losing your mental energy over the demand of the senses. Your mind understands the real me is spirit beyond sexes. With this understanding, you rise beyond multiple illusions. The study of brahmacharya is a profound study not to be found in the Western world. Strangely enough, Western religious systems have not properly probed deeply into it. But in the Indian culture, brahmacharya is considered of utmost importance. The scriptures say, Brahmacharyena tapasya devo mrityum upaghnata. By brahmacharya and austerity, gods attained victory over death. You too are essentially divine, and as you practice brahmacharya and austerity, you too can become free of death and realize that you are the imperishable absolute self. Let's move on to the topic of keep your spirits high. It is your birthright to vibrate with strength and courage, to face life like a hero, to take things in stride with a happy heart until you become enlightened. However, you are bound to become depressed about your problems from time to time as life is complex. The idea that you can be happy and cheerful at every moment is simply unrealistic. The mind will always have its ups and downs. When the clouds of dejection, sadness do enter your mind, you can drive them away by adopting the following techniques. Number one is practice Hatha Yoga and Pranayama, meaning breathing exercises whenever you feel your spirit beginning to sink. These exercises bring harmony and balance to the mind as well as the body. Or you may want to swim or jog or go for an invigorating walk in a beautiful natural setting. Just changing the atmosphere so that you can relax often causes your depressed mood to give way to a cheerful mood. Do not take too seriously the negative thoughts that invade your mind when you are depressed. These thoughts are really baseless. When you are dejected, you tend to imagine every terrible thing possible about yourself and become steeped in self pity. As your mind regains its strength, these thoughts will disappear. Always remind yourself that all things pass away. View your dejection as a passing dark cloud and learn to wait and watch with patience. This strengthens your will and makes your personality very dynamic. Understand that adversity is a great teacher with a divine purpose. If you face adversity with the right attitude, it helps you to overhaul your personality by bringing the things that are hidden in your unconscious to the surface. When you are strong enough, nature has a mysterious way of presenting you with the challenging situations that are needed for your growth, for your evolution. Through each difficult situation, nature is as if whispering, "Can I tell you a secret? It's going to be a little painful, but you need to hear it." When nature brings you these challenging eye openers, do not be ungrateful. Do not let depression take over and rob you of time and energy. Rather, learn to quickly push away the dark clouds that gather in your mind by keeping busy and continuing to perform your duties. Although some tasks may require a cheerful, clear mind, there are other tasks that you can perform even when the mind is clouded. If the demands of your life in school, at work, or at home do not allow you to alter your activity according to your moods, do not become upset. With patience and perseverance, you can gradually train yourself to fulfill all your responsibilities, even in the most distressing of situations. So, we will continue these profound pointers in our satsang for tomorrow. Hari Om Tat Sat.